is Jay Horwitz with a football edition of the amazing Mets Alumni Podcast. My pleasure to welcome, Giants great Phil Simms, Super Bowl MVP, Giants Ring of Honor, and on NFL Today every Sunday. Phil, in full disclosure, I got to tell you, I've been a Giants season ticket holder since 1958. I saw the Colts overtime game with Sam Huff. Been to all 5 Super Bowls, so I'm prejudiced in what I can tell you. I've been a Giant fan my entire life. I was a Giant fan before I was a Met fan. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about New York. In my time with the Mets as a PR guy, we had a lot of guys trouble adapting. Beltran, Piazza, Lindor last year. People don't remember your first 4 years with the Giants. You got booed a lot, and it had to be a tough go for you.
Everybody kind of asked me questions like that, Jay. And, there were good times in those first 4 years. And, the first time I played for the Giants, I think we won 4 straight. So that was a good period. But, there were ups and downs. We were not a real good football team at first. And when you're not a good football team, which I try to explain to people even to this day, Jay, when it's there's no way you can overcome sometimes. And I'm not saying it was about the team. But yeah, it was tough for the injuries, things like that. But people always say this too. Oh, you hung in there. I go, well, what else was I gonna do? You think I was gonna quit football because I got hurt a few times, or there was some things that didn't go my way early in my career? And no, those things never crossed my mind. You just hang in there. You know how sports is. Just hang in there, keep working, and hope the tide turns, and fortunately for us, it did.
You came from Moorhead State wasn't a big time school. How hard was it to you to adjust to the media in New York? When you first came, number 1 draft pick, and how hard was it to you to adjust to the media here?
I get that too, and it wasn't hard. I say this all the time, and people kind of look at me and go, "Oh, I go, wait, I have no agenda anymore. I'm not playing. I'm not working or trying to kiss up to the media." But I thought overall, they were very fair. I had good relationships with a lot of guys, and, they asked me tough questions. I would answer them or try to. And yeah, it wasn't always like a perfect marriage, but, when the team and you're not playing well and the team's losing, it's hard to be friendly to people asking you questions about it sometimes. But I thought the media was fair. And what I learned when I started doing games as a color analyst, I went around to some of these cities and I was like, oh my gosh, they're so critical of the football team, much more than I think that I ever saw the media do here in New York. So it just worked out well. You handle the media and just move on.
I had to say, I never yelled, "We want Bruner," just so you know. I was not part of that. I never did that.
Well, they never yelled it for when I was playing. So I didn't get that. I got hurt. He came in, and then there was, some battles there. And you know how those go. They're always predetermined. I love that. Oh, we're going to have a competition. No, you're not. Not in football. The quarterback position is always predetermined, and it takes almost a miracle to turn that around. We saw it with a few QB battles even this year in the NFL. I know who's going to win the job, but we're going to go through the semantics because that's what we do. And yeah, but I think and I know those things they've already got ideas in the back of their head, and it's hard to change them.
So what would be your advice whether it's a baseball player, a football player, basketball player coming into the New York market? I think you touched on it briefly. What would be your advice to somebody coming in, a young kid, or somebody just gets traded to the New York market?
Well, look, it's exciting. I mean, you want attention. You always wanted to be a pro, and you get to New York. I don't care what franchise it is, baseball or anything. There's going to be a big focus on you. And, players love that, especially nowadays, Jay. Players want to be on the stage. They want it to be about them. And my advice, I think it's tougher for some of these teams, the Yankees, the Mets. We all live out in the suburbs with the New York Giants and the Jets. And I think living in the city or different atmospheres, that might make it a little tougher. But my advice is, just don't worry about the press. In other words, respect them. Go ahead and answer their questions. even though it's really hard a lot of times. But when it turns good, it's really good. So it's can't have thin skin, and definitely don't let it affect your play because somebody's writing bad things about you.
So I want to touch on two games in '86. Do you remember the Monday night game? I think you were playing the Redskins. And I spoke to Sean Ledette about this. Maybe I got my story screwed up. In the middle of the game, the crowd was going crazy.
Yes.
And you don't remember what it was actually for what was going on with the Mets game?
No, I knew it was, like in the middle of nothing going on for our game, I could hear, woo, all this noise. And I went, even when I was on the field once, I said, oh, the Met game, that's what they're listening to. So they're listening to the game on their radios. I think a lot of people were getting updates or whatever. And we're playing the Monday night game. But yes, I knew what it was about. And, it was kind of cool, really.
Do you have time to watch baseball these days, Phil, or are you just engrossed with the football stuff now?
Yeah, football, Jay, I grew up playing baseball. I come from a baseball family. My dad loved baseball. My brothers all played. We were all good players. When I told my dad, I think it was right before my junior year in college, I played a lot of summer baseball and a really terrific competition, ex-pros, a lot of college guys and everything like that. And I told him, I said, Dad, I'm going to stop. I just can't do all this. I'm working full time, 8 hours a day. I'm trying to train for football. I'm going to baseball games at night. I said, it's just, and I'm not playing the way I want anymore because I'm just not looking at baseball. And it upset my dad because he wanted me to keep playing. He wanted me to play baseball. But I kind of knew after my sophomore year in college, I said, this baseball thing is tough. And as much as I loved it growing up, I knew my chances of being a pro were better in football.
Phil, do you see a little Bill Parcells and Buck Showalter at all? I got to know Bill a little bit. He's a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
We went down to Jupiter, and he was always used to talk. He wanted to talk baseball more than football. Do you see any between the two of them, Parcells and Buck at all?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. I mean, there's just a toughness to them and, all that. I think it translates to the team, just the way they act. And when the coach or the manager, Buck Showalter, he's on top of the game and he's there to help you win games, to make you better, all those things. And to me, that's why we all loved certain coaches because we knew what they were talking about. They managed the team well, and they gave the team and the player a better chance to succeed. And to me, that's the ultimate about coaches.
Coach Parcells, he was kind of tough on you at times, right? I mean, those sideline shots of him, raising his voice at times.
Bill was, he knew how to manage people. He was terrific at it. And I can't explain to people. Everybody goes back to the times we had some arguments. And yeah, we had quite a few of them. During the game, we would say things to each other that the game would be over. I'd go, oh my gosh, why did I say that? But it never affected Bill. It didn't bother him. In fact, Jay, he actually encouraged guys to yell back at him. It did not bother him. He loved it. Sometimes I would yell back at him in practice and he'd go, oh, are you mad at me? He started making all these faces and he go, do you want to hit me? And I go, oh, what's wrong with you? And he just turn and walk away.
Yeah.
And, when he yelled at you in practice or whatever, the whole team, of course, would stop and you were allowed to laugh and everybody be going, yeah, get him, Bill, get him. But the big thing about Coach Parcells, he was a great manipulator of people. He knew who to yell at, when to say it, what to do. And probably the only thing else I could say, I've told this story many times, and I'll make it fast. We're going to practice one day, and I got to walk by him because I got to get out there. And I don't want to walk by him because he's always going to say something. But I go by him, he goes, hey, come here, Sims. And I come back and say, yeah, I got to get to the field. He goes, you're with me. Don't worry about being on time. You're with me. And he goes, you're doing great. I'm so proud of you. And he's saying all these nice things. I'm like, wow. And he goes, I just want you to know today, I'm going to chew you out like I've never chewed a player out in my life. And I go, what? He goes, well, I got to do something to get through the rest of these guys. So I got to yell at you. And sure enough, about midway through the practice, I throw an incompletion. He blows up and starts screaming at me and everything. Of course, the players love that. And that was his way of getting the message to the whole team by yelling at certain people sometimes.
So one of my favorite games in '86 was the Bobby Johnson game, fourth and
Oh yeah.
17, 22-20, and Langford kicks a field goal. Was that, the 14-2 year with one of the highlights for you?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games of my whole football life, high school all the way through college and in the pros. And it wasn't because I played great, because it was just so hard, Jay. Minnesota, they had the defensive line. The crowd is absolutely, it was crazy back then in the Metrodome. And it was just so tough to find a way to win the game. And to win it the way we did was just, it still sticks with me. If I see it, somebody talks about it, I go, yep, yep. I mean, I took a beating that day, but that was part of what made it so good, because it was so tough. And the fact that we found a way to win through so much adversity, I really do believe that was a great springboard for us for the rest of the year.
Great game. Phil, you went through it. The two local quarterbacks are under the microscope as always. Can you sympathize with Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson, what you went through? I mean, every incomplete pass is the end of the world. Every sack is the end of the world. I mean, you could probably feel better than what these guys are going through now.
Well, it's just, I think it's so different now. Sometimes I could play a bad game or do certain things, and it just wasn't nitpicked to death. And now, we have to hear everything to go, oh, he took a sack, oh, he did this. It just, the just going, what's the word for it? The minutia, I don't know how to say it. We just overanalyze one position in sports more than any, and that's the quarterback. So yeah, I do have a little sympathy for him, but also I always put these messages in the paper when reporters call me. Hey, it's a tough business. It's a tough game. All professional sports are tough, and there's going to be down moments. But the big thing is never let your mind defeat your body, and that's easy to say, hard to do. And sometimes when it was rough for me, even Coach Parcells would say, "Hey Sims, don't worry about it. Just if you don't throw 2 interceptions, you're not trying hard enough. Let it go, and just play loose and free." It's easy to say, but to get that mindset for these young quarterbacks with the Giants and the Jets, I know it's tough, but did you think it was going to be easy? And I know the answer is no.
Speaking of not when I was Pasadena 22-25, 88%. Looking back, that's another got to be one of the other highlights, right?
Yeah, it was. It's really interesting. It's almost like a baseball. I threw the ball differently that day, and I probably ever threw it my whole career. I didn't overthrow. I was throwing it soft, all this stuff. And I think so much of it had to do with the fact that we'd played in so many cold, windy, bad weather games. To be in California and practice, I was like, this is not fair. These quarterbacks that are playing this out here in this grass fields and this great weather, it's just so much easier. I don't know. It just was really an interesting game psychologically for me. I was never thinking about winning and losing. You hear this all the time, but very seldom did I ever do it. I just played it one play at a time and didn't get caught up in winning and losing. And I honestly did not know when the game was over, getting towards the end, they put my stats up on the board. I went, oh, wow, okay. And then I actually go, well, where were the 3 incompletions? I actually did that when I knew I wasn't going to go back in the game. I saw it and I said, who did I throw an incompletion to? And then I went, dang, we could have hit them all. They had a chance to hit those too, but it was a great day. And of course, Jay, that's why you're talking to me right now. And it changed my life. It changed my family's life. And, of course, I'll never forget it.
You've got to be proud of your son. Chris is a broadcaster at another network. Do you talk a lot? Do you advise him on what to do, or we can let him be by himself?
He's kind of done it by himself. I mean, people always, some friends of mine that come around, and my son, Matt, who played some years with the Jets, played with who else? He was in Buffalo. He was in Atlanta. He was whatever. But we're all around. We talk football or sports the whole time. And somebody was there with us many times. They go, do you guys just do this every time? I go, yeah, I think we do. Because we all love all sports. We follow as much as we can everything, but we all love football. And Christopher, my son, do I kind of advise him? No, I probably never did. He's just got a mind of his own. And people say, hey, Christopher, and I just go, I'm sorry. I apologize. Just, and they laughed. Oh no, he didn't say anything, but he's got a mind of his own. He's very, he studies the game really hard. He never says nothing where he doesn't know the answer. And that's kind of what I do too. That's why people go, Jay, I'm sorry to go so long, but people go, what do you do during the week? And I just say, before we talk today, I was watching the Miami Dolphins and the Cincinnati Bengals because I want to see what Cincinnati and Miami are doing because Miami's playing the Jets this week. But I watch every game in one form or another because I want to know. And when somebody asks me a question, I have the answer.
So is it hard not to root for the Giants within the studio or 15 years with one team with the Maras and everything? Do you do it quietly or openly?
No, I yell. Because we're not on camera. Oh, everybody, my God, because everybody in there just about is a Giant fan or a Jet fan. And listen, I root for the Jets too. I want to see them, both these teams do well. It's just fun to be around, even going out in public when they play well, even though I'm not playing, it makes it better for me.
Look, I guess it's the first time we really met off the football field when you were doing sports for CBS TV, right? How many years ago was that?
Oh, for CBS, well, it was after when I did it after I retired.
Yeah.
Well, I was with CBS. I did a local show.
11 o'clock news a couple times. No,
I think I tried out for it once. I thought, well, maybe my career's over. I'll be a sports anchor. And I went in and did it. And the guy who was running the audition and everything, we looked at each other. I said, yep, this is not going to work. It was really hard. I'd never done anything like that. So
I got one funny story. You met a good friend of mine. You were shopping at the farmer's market a long time ago. She recognized you and you helped her pick out some food. And I just wanted to tell you, she never forgets to, you're very kind to her. So,
well, that's nice.
It's been a thrill for me, Phil. And anything you need from us, over again, give us a call. And thank you for your time.
Well, Jay, I want to say this too. Of course, I read your name in the paper. You do a great job and all that. And everybody knows you. You're a terrific guy. My old agent, I had my first through my career, whatever, David Fishoff. I think you were
very good friends with him.
Yeah. David was a great dude. So he was always talking about you too. And I just love the way you've handled yourself and congratulate you on
I'm old, Phil.
You're what?
42 years I've been with the Mets.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Well, I'm up by my mitzvah age,
Yeah, that's great. Well, you've done a great job and hanging. Nothing like being involved.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Phil. Thank you for your time.